Hi everybody, and welcome to the first week of class. My name is Dr. Jordan LaBeouf, and every week I'm going to try to put together something like this that just helps get you guys introduced to the material, and that we just do for a little while. So I wanted to take a minute just to talk about chapters 1 and 2 in Cicerelli and White, and to give you an idea of some of the things that I hope you get out of it. So the first chapter is about thinking like a psychologist. And a lot of people are sort of stumped by what that means. How do psychologists think differently from anybody else? And so Cicerelli and White spend quite a bit of time talking about the history of psychology. And it is important for us to understand where we've come from in order to understand where we're going. Right, so do focus on those history, but focus especially on the perspectives. Understand how over the course of even 100 years in the study of psychology, we've developed about 10 to a dozen different perspectives that different people specialize in. So I am a social psychologist, so I focus on the sociocultural perspective, but my master's degree is in neuroscience, so I focus on the biological perspective, and blending those two things has made me kind of an evolutionary psychologist. So when I start looking at the relationships between, say, religious behavior and intergroup prejudice, what I'm looking at are social forces, evolutionary forces, and biological forces all at once. Other psychologists would take a very different approach to those same problems. So understanding the different perspectives in psychology helps us understand the different ways in which our field addresses these sort of critical questions. The chapter advances to talk about what those critical questions are like. And one thing that I really want you to get out of this chapter, I really want you to focus on this, is the idea of the scientific method. Now, many of you have had science classes before, but social psychology and really social sciences altogether are a whole different type of methodological structure. They follow the same method, but we have to make sure that we're focusing on what the book and what scientists call empirical questions. An empirical question is a question that can be answered with data, right? So let's say if I ask the question, which one is better, Coke or Pepsi? Well, I can't really address that question with data, right? Because better is such a amorphous concept. But I could say, which soda do people like more, Coke or Pepsi? That's an empirical question, right? Because I can answer that question by asking everyone in the world which they like more, Coke or Pepsi. I want you to focus on empirical questions in this class. How do we turn big, important issues into questions that we can measure using data, we can objectively measure, and come to some conclusion about? So what I want you to think about in this class, I want you to become skeptical empiricists. Anytime you're met with some conclusion, like, say, eating peppermints before a test makes you perform better, I want you to realize that those are empirical questions.